From the beautiful city of Los Angeles, California, we bring you the Gimme Three Podcast. Hello and welcome, cinephiles, cinema lovers, and movie appreciators to the Gimme Three Podcast, the podcast where we select three films connected by one theme. I'm Nicholas Ibarra, and I'm joined by my co-host, Bella F. Stratus, who's a horror aficionado, which is apt because on today's episode, we are discussing one of the most legendary, sacred, and storied horror tales ever created, Frankenstein. Bella, how you doing? How pumped are you for this episode?
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, it's my time of year, my favorite time of year. And I've been so excited for this episode. I think this is a really fun idea. And, we're just barely scratching the surface of the many, many Frankenstein films that are out there. It's actually kind of insane.
We could have done just an episode of the trilogy from the 1930s, but figure it might be fun to just explore some different interpretations of it. But we picked this theme, of course, to help commemorate the release of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which hits select theaters this weekend. See it on the big screen while you can. It's having a short theatrical release because Netflix. But if you know Del Toro, you know that seeing his work on the big screen can be basically as transformative as film going gets. So what Del Toro knows is Frankenstein. This is a story I think he's been wanting to tell since he was a child. A few years ago, well, that's not a few years ago, it's probably like over a decade ago now, but it seems like a few years ago, they had a Del Toro exhibit at LACMA, which was outstanding. It was his collection of horror toys and models and all this kind of stuff, and stuff from the making of his films also. But he had a massive... You could tell how much he loved Frankenstein in this. He had a massive Boris Karloff head in Frankenstein makeup, like hovering over one of the entrances. And there was even a like life-size, gorgeous wax figure makeup of makeup artist Jack Pierce, who did the legendary makeup for Boris Karloff. Jack Pierce working on Boris Karloff as Boris Karloff's like sipping a coffee in his makeup chair.
Amazing.
And then, of course, Del Toro actually wrote a beautiful intro for the Penguin re-release of Frankenstein in 2013 for the novel, which is very eloquent and beautifully written. You can tell how much he connects to this material. Yeah, I mean, Frankenstein, it's one of the most frequented, commonly adapted horror stories in history. So today we're looking at three memorable film adaptations of Mary Shelley's 1816 novel. However, while we were revisiting these films, Bella, I opted to also begin a reread of the classic novel as well.
Oh my God, amazing.
So I'm about halfway through that, which, I hadn't read this since high school. And in high school, I was reading it right now and I'm just like, my God, this is like very heady. It's very, it's old English language. I can imagine why I didn't like enjoy it as much as a high schooler. But getting into the novel, I just had to, before we even get into the films here, Bella, I'm going to mix it up for this episode. Give me three facts, trivia about Mary Shelley's novel, Frankenstein.
Love it.
I want to play a game.
Which, by the way, again, if you guys want to contemplate life, the complexities of life, why we're here, I mean, this is a must read. It's very poignant. 200 years later.
Yeah.
Mary Shelley was 18 years old when she came up with this idea. She finished the novel when she was 19, and it was published when she was 20 years old. How about that?
Jesus. That's amazing.
Yeah. The idea for Frankenstein, it kind of came off of a bet. She was staying at a villa near Lake Geneva with her lover, Percy Shelley, who's a poet, a famous poet, Lord Byron, who is like the most famous poet of the time, and Claire Claremont, which is she has the Guinness Book of World Records for worst name in history, Claire Claremont. But that was Mary's stepsister, who was romantically involved with Byron. And one night during a storm and likely some libations, I would imagine, they made this pact to each write a ghost story. And for days and days, Shelley could not think of her idea for this story, and they kept asking her, well, you know, your story's going to be, what's your story going to be? And she was just distraught that she could not come up with anything. But over the nights and nights, the other thing that was happening was Percy and Lord Byron were having all these in-depth conversations about, you know, this was, you know, the turn of the century. So there's like all these scientific advancements were being made, and the Industrial Revolution and all this stuff. So Percy and Lord Byron they're just having these intense conversations about life and death and, you know, creation and all this kind of stuff. And it basically sparked this idea in her. And she said, essentially, when she went to bed that night, she could not sleep. And when she did fall into a pseudo sort of sleep, this vision of this monster, this creature, came to her in the middle of the night. And finally, the next morning, she could tell her friends, I got the idea. So that's where it came from.
What a great origin story.
Yeah. And then third piece of trivia is the novel was originally published anonymously because at the time, women writers weren't taken seriously, you know, especially for a novel that is so philosophical and so scientific and is, you know, so heady. They would have not taken it seriously. So her true identity was not revealed until 1823.
Oh, wow.
Several years after the initial publication of this thing. So originally the famed Frankenstein novel was published anonymously. Nobody knew who wrote it for a long time.
A mystery.
Which probably worked to its benefit, frankly.
Yeah.
But there you go. That's Gimme Three little bits of trivia about the source material. Mary Shelley's classic novel, Frankenstein, which I recommend everybody check out.
I love that you are reading that as prep for this episode. I haven't had the pleasure of reading it. I'm going to now because I've become so obsessed. But I, on the other hand, prepped for this episode with a very, very critically acclaimed film, Frankenhooker.
Oh, Frankenhooker kicks ass. Frankenhooker kicks fucking ass.
Yeah, it was fucking amazing. Really enjoyed that. Think I found my Halloween costume.
It's a great one. It is a great one. Yeah, I mean, I considered putting Frankenhooker in this, frankly. Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe Frankenstein Part 2.
Frankenstein Part 2. All right, but it's time to get in the movie, shall we?
Oh, yes, let's do it.
We start with what was actually not the first film adaptation. It's just the first one that like hit. But it's Frankenstein from 1931, directed by James Whale, written by Garrett Fort and Francis Edward Farrago. He's dead. He won't get upset. The film begins with Edward Van Sloan, who was an actor at the time, warning the audience with a cautionary message, basically being like, yo, this is your chance to leave because this shit you're about to see is going to be scary. Get out now. Brilliant tactic.
How do you do? Mr. Carl Lemley feels it would be a little unkind to present this picture without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image, without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now is your chance to, well, we've warned you.
So good.
But yeah, we have Henry Frankenstein and his assistant Fritz. They are piggybacking off of a burial at a cemetery. And after the mourners are gone, they dig up a body, which, in 1931, this was a horrific way to open a film. Quite off-putting, very intense. And then we meet Victor, who's Frankenstein's old friend, which is kind of confusing for anybody who knows the source material, because in the source material, Frankenstein's name is Victor. But in this film, Victor is the friend.
Very confusing.
Very confusing. So he's trying to console Elizabeth, who's Frankenstein's fiance. She hasn't heard from him very often, and when she does get letters from him, they're manic, and he's talking crazy shit. So they're like, let's just go and see this fucker and see what's going down. What's going down is Henry Frankenstein is trying to make life. He's trying to create life, create a man. He's using body parts that he's dug up to build this body. And with his scientific prowess, he wants to create life, and not bring life from the dead, but create life. And he sends his assistant Fritz to his old university to steal a brain from the scientific lab. And when this bozo drops the normal brain on the floor and ruins it, Fritz quickly grabs the only other brain that's available in the lab. Unfortunately for him and everybody else, that was the abnormal brain, the brain of a killer. So Dr. Frankenstein, he's just about ready for his experiment to come to pass. He's built his body, he's got his brain, and there's this massive lightning storm outside, which is going to be, the final ingredient. But just then, Elizabeth and Victor and Henry's old trusted mentor, Professor Waldman, they show up at his door concerned. And he's like, God damn you fools for showing up. I was just about to get my nut in this bitch with this fucking creation stuff. And they're like, Henry, please let us in. It's raining outside. He's like, all right, you guys want to stay? You're going to see some shit. And some shit they see, because Bella, we throw around the word iconic a lot around here.
We do.
And frankly, it's just a word that's just thrown around. I just did this project with the Call Her Daddy. You're aware of this?
Oh, yeah.
And so I did a live show with her, the unwell thing. And I think I heard the word iconic about more times than days that I have been alive. So it gets thrown around a lot. It's like a slang, it's like a,
Yeah. Yeah.
But this scene here is actually iconic.
Yeah. Legendary.
It has been homaged hundreds of times. It's one of the most memorable scenes in cinematic history, and people who probably even haven't seen this film know about it, know the elements of it, because it's been homaged and hearkened to so many times. It's just been injected into the zeitgeist. Dr. Frankenstein, he uses his machines to lift this lifeless creature into the air, closer to the sky. Lightning strikes, sparks fly, things are buzzing and going nuts. Madness ensues. And when the body lowers and the creature hand rises, and you get those famous words, those famous lines.
It's alive. It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Oh, in the name of God. Now I know what it feels like to be God.
And for me, the more off-putting line is shortly after that, where Frankenstein says, "Now I know what it feels like to be God." Oh my, heavy shit.
Let's calm down, man. Let's
calm
down.
So he's got this creature, and it's played by Boris Karloff, who one of the all-time great performances ever put on celluloid. I do not need to describe his appearance because it is so injected into horror lore. It is one of the most famous Halloween costumes. It's been replicated thousands of times. It was stolen for sitcoms and other movies and this and that. I mean, it's Frankenstein. When you close your eyes and think of Frankenstein, you see this image. Mm. But they treat this poor creature like an animal. Frankenstein, Waldman, and Fritz, they imprison this creature. In some cases, they torment this guy. Well, if you play with fire, you get burned. Mm. Henry, throughout all this, by the way, he's like, ooh, I'm exhausted. You know what? Maybe that whole marriage deal ain't so bad. Maybe I should marry this beautiful woman who wants to marry me and not stop playing Tinker Toys in my lab like a fuck. I'll let the fuckers, deal with this whole monster that I've created. You guys deal with that while I go get married to this beautiful dame. I'll live my lovely life now. Fritz and Waldman, they're trying to, quote unquote, handle this creature, but they're doing it in all the wrong ways. They're trying to do it with aggression. And when the monster tries to defend himself, he ends up killing these two motherfuckers. And he escapes. This creature is on the loose. And there's a fantastic scene where he meets this little girl, and the little girl wants to play with him. She's like, "Hey, you want to play with me?" She has no judgment of this ugly, disformed creature, and they play this game where they're throwing flowers into the lake, and he starts throwing flowers into the lake, and he starts laughing, and he's having a good time, and she's having a good time, and the poor bastard, he runs out of flowers. And innocently, he's like, "Oh, I'm out of flowers. Well, I'll throw this little girl in the lake." Throws her to see her float. Unfortunately, she don't float. Mm. He tries to save her, but he doesn't know what to do. And he rushes off. And the next time we see that little girl, she is dead. Getting carried in her father's arms. And the townspeople are like, this shit cannot stand. We must find this creature and destroy him. And it all culminates with this epic scene, this essential witch hunt filled with rabid dogs and torches, the whole deal. And they bring Dr. Frankenstein to help them find this thing. And it all culminates at this old windmill where the lynch mob is at the base of the windmill. And Frankenstein throws the doctor off of the windmill, and he lands on the, what do you call those things? Propellers?
Yeah. I'm like the windmill.
Yeah. He lands on this. Just an absolutely epic finale here. And they burn this goddamn windmill, and he's in there screaming and just, oh man, it's just unnerving and totally gripping. And it's still nearly 100 years later will blow your socks off, this ending. Yeah. Anyways, Frankenstein, it's a great movie. Great movie. What'd you think, Ben?
Oh, God, I love this movie. I'd seen it before, but not for a very long time. As you said in your intro, this Frankenstein, the story itself is timeless. That's why we have a bajillion different versions and remakes. Yeah, even nearing its 100th anniversary, I think this film is just such a masterpiece. And yeah, it's still so thrilling and so fun to watch today. I think a huge part of the fun is to imagine how shocking this must have been for audiences back in the 1930s. Mm-hmm. I mean, that monster reveal on the big screen, like the way Frankenstein creeps into the room backwards and then slowly turns out of the shadows and into the light to reveal that monstrous makeup. And then they double down by cutting closer and closer to his face, just capturing every detail of that iconic, gruesome makeup. I mean, whenever I watch that scene, I feel like I can literally hear the screams. I can imagine the scream is in the audience. It's just so awesome.
It's funny to say because it is so timeless and it is such a classic, but I think the further we get from it, the more underrated. I don't know if underrated is the right word, but I don't know if it gets the due it deserves.
Yeah.
Especially Boris Karloff is just like, I mean, this performance, like I said earlier, when you close your eyes and picture Frankenstein, what do you see? You see this iteration of Frankenstein, and it became, such a indelible image in horror for forever after this. A part of it is we must credit the makeup artist Jack Pierce,
right,
who also did the makeup for Bride of Frankenstein. Jack Pierce, famously a real asshole. Like,
oh, jeez,
like he was like the type of person who was like, you do not say good morning to him. You wait for him to say good morning, and then you're allowed to speak.
Oh, jeez, of course.
But without the performance, Karloff just blends this fear that comes from the creature and this fear that morphs into like rage and like misunderstanding, and it's just a really tragic performance that stands the test of time. And it has it's so good that it in many ways redefined and surpassed the novel in terms of what we think about when we think of the creature. And it's probably also because, the novel's now 200 years old as opposed to nearly 100 years old. But that's impressive. It's really, really impressive.
Oh, yeah. No, I think the way that, like, the way your feelings evolve towards this creature, this character is so incredible because, at first you're like horrified, it's doing the job. Mm-hmm. And then seconds later, like right after that reveal, Dr. Frankenstein opens like a window and lets some light into the room, and the monster like reaches up towards it. And it's just this silent moment that it will like stick with you forever because it's so heartbreaking. And in that moment, your fear completely shifts to just heartbreak, and he's so humanized in that moment. And then you're like, oh wow, this is now life. This is a real person. And immediately after that, he's like tormented by Fritz and Waldman and Frankenstein himself, and it's just it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
Yeah, that scene where he's like reaching out towards the sunlight, and then they close the window.
Yeah.
And he like almost turns to Henry, and he's still got his arms out. Like he's just like reaching for something, like somebody give me something. Somebody give me something to hold on to, some light, some love. And he like tells him to sit down, and he sits down, and the camera just tilts down to his hands, and his hands are just like reaching out like a beggar, like looking for something. It's really powerful stuff.
Even kind of childlike, like a kid being asked to be like picked up.
Yeah, for sure.
Pulls on the heartstrings.
For sure. So let's talk about the scene with the little girl.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so iconic. While we're on the iconic wave. Oh my God. Yeah, that also is devastating. I made Jonathan watch this with me because I was like, you have to see it. Because I was like, you're going to watch Young Frankenstein with me, so you have to see, some of that source material.
Right.
It was kind of funny watching it with someone who'd never seen it because, it's so old. You don't really expect it to go that far, I guess.
Well, this is pre-code. This is before the Hollywood code. So you watch movies from the 1930s, actually, and they go farther than they do in movies today. Like
that makes sense.
Films today don't have the gusto that they did in the early 30s.
Yeah, completely unhinged. I mean, he's when he throws the little girl in the lake, he's kind of blocking her, but you still can like see hear her splashing, see her splashing a little bit. And Jonathan was just like, oh no. And then he just runs away, and you're sitting there just like, oh my God, that did not just happen. It's such a dramatic shift from the beautiful moment of them like playing together.
Yeah. So for decades, that was not the version that was released and seen by audiences.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They originally, which in my mind, This completely changes the film and the character of the creature.
Oh, yeah.
So originally, they have this lovely moment, the creature and the little girl, where they're tossing flowers in and watching them float. And then the creature reaches for the little girl, and it just cuts away to the next scene. And then the next time we see that little girl, the dad's carrying her dead. So you just infer, okay, well, he killed her.
Jeez, yeah.
And he's just a psychopath. I think it was not until like the 70s or 80s that they released this version that was originally intended by the filmmaker, which is he picks her up because he thinks he's playing and throws her into the water because he wants to watch her float also, and then panics when he realizes that he is screwed up and is like, splashing the water, trying to like see how he can wake her up, but it doesn't work, and he runs away horrified. Completely changes the meaning of the film and the character.
One is innocent and one is a villain.
Right. So and the studio was like, oh, they thought it was like too horrifying to see that girl get thrown in the water like that. I was like, the version that you released is more horrifying because you're
way more horrifying.
You just made him a psychopath.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where, I mean, for future horror films where like sometimes not showing makes it scarier because your imagination can be more, whatever you think of happened and that happened. Right. So.
And then the grand finale, which is just so fucking epic and so still visually stunning.
Yeah.
What a wallop of an ending it would have been. Because you think the doctor's dead. He gets you watch this thing, and I mean, obviously they use a dummy, but this fucker falls on this propeller, and it's like, okay, he's dead. That's like, he falls, and it's like, all right, that's it. He's over. He's dead from his own creation. How poetic is that? And then his creature is burned alive and seemingly dead. Of course, ends up not being dead because there's a sequel, but But an incredible ending. But again, the studio's like, a little too real. Let's add this scene that nobody remembers or is going to care about of Henry's father, closing the door on him with Henry in the back sipping on some tea, and Henry's father toasting a bunch of gorgeous 20-year-old women with champagne for no reason. It's like, what the fuck is this?
They're like, don't worry, guys. He's still alive.
Don't worry. He's still alive, even though he's a piece of shite.
Yeah. The end. Oh, my God. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Because that ending, you're just like, fuck yeah, that was so awesome. Like, to this day, still such a balls to the wall, amazing, unforgettable ending. And then that scene just pops up and you're like, whoa, there's a whole other part of this, and then immediately ends. That was ridiculous. They couldn't help themselves.
Couldn't help it. Could not help it.
This time around, I was really paying attention to the cinematography, like the production design, the lighting, and I was very impressed with the production design. It's just, I mean, it's also just, that mad scientist laboratory has been recreated for every like mad scientist horror laboratory sense. It's amazing to see a film and like the origin of all these like little horror tropes that we're so familiar with today.
Right.
It's just, it's so fun to watch. I love this movie so much. And you can tell I was reading about how they were really inspired by like the German expressionist films,
right?
Specifically like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which they nailed it. They've got that gloomy, shadowy atmosphere. There's like slanted archways, the whole Gothic design. I love it. So
Frankenstein from 1931. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's directed by James Whale, and it's streaming on Amazon Prime. This time of year, also, if you see it, in especially since Del Toro's Frankenstein's coming out, it might be popping up on a big screen at a repertory theater near you. So keep your eyes peeled for that, because it's always fun to see with an audience, either this or Bride of Frankenstein, which many argue is even better than this, which I can't argue against.
Wow. So the year is now 1974. It's been a little over 40 years since Frankenstein first hit the screen, terrifying audiences and sparking a love for the American horror film. And Gene Wilder has just had a stroke of genius to reanimate the classic horror in a black and white comedy, equal spoof and homage to the early Universal Frankenstein films, titled Young Frankenstein. He presented this idea to Mel Brooks while they were filming Blazing Saddles together. What if the film centered around Dr. Victor Frankenstein's grandson, a skeptic and esteemed physician who has done everything in his power to distance himself from his crazed family's dark history, even going so far as to change the pronunciation of his name, Frederick Frankenstein. Together, Wilder and Brooks wrote the screenplay and brought together an all-star comedian cast, including Marty Feldman, Terry Garr, Peter Boyle, Madeline Kahn, Cloris Leachman, Kenneth Mars, and even Gene Hackman in a surprise cameo. Little did they know they were making a film that is, to this day, regarded as one of the greatest comedies of all time. Wilder plays Frederick Frankenstein, who finds himself in his grandfather's shadow once again when he inherits the family castle in Transylvania. Reluctantly, Frederick is drawn away from his beloved fiancée, Elizabeth, played by Madeline Kahn, to visit the motherland and settle his grandfather's estate. There, he's greeted by two of our key players. Igor, played by Marty Feldman, a hunchback bug-eyed servant whose own father once assisted Victor Frankenstein in his experiments. Inga, played by Terry Garr, the blonde, beautiful, but not so brilliant assistant who loves a good roll in the hay. And finally, Frau Blucher, played by Cloris Leachman, the creepy and stoic housekeeper with a mysterious connection to Victor Frankenstein himself. That night, Frederick, Inga, and Igor are awoken by the sound of an eerie violin lullaby echoing through the halls of the castle. Following the strange music, the trio stumbles upon Victor's private library and secret lab. It is there that Frederick discovers his grandfather's notes and becomes consumed by the idea that the experiment could actually work. This kicks off a fantastical and hilarious recreation of the original story as Frederick follows in his grandfather's footsteps. With Igor's help, they steal the body of a freshly hanged criminal, and after a small mishap at the brain depository, Igor accidentally supplies an abnormal brain for their creation. The result? A towering, sometimes violent, but mostly deeply misunderstood monster brought to life in a fantastic performance by Peter Boyle. Meanwhile, word spreads through the village that yet another Frankenstein has returned to Transylvania, sending the townspeople into a real tizzy for fear he's here to continue his grandfather's work. So to ease their fears, Inspector Kemp, played by Kenneth Mars, pays Frederick Frankenstein a visit to ensure there's no more monster making. Frederick manages to distract the inspector, but while his back is turned, Frau Blucher frees the creature, revealing her past relationship with his grandfather and her devotion to his work. So loose in the countryside, we get a series of spoofs from Universal's films to Mary Shelley's book, including a playdate with a little girl. Fortunately, this one does not result in an accidental murder. And a hilarious dinner with a blind hermit, Gene Hackman's secret cameo, whose prayers for company were answered when the monster shows up on his doorstep. Eventually, Frederick and the gang are able to lure the monster back, and in a moment of not-so-fearless compassion, Frederick decides to confront the monster with love rather than fear. It is here, only after they've spoofed every Frankenstein movie trope in existence, that the film becomes something entirely new and unexpected. A mutual friendship akin to man's best friend blossoms between Frederick and the monster, culminating in an unforgettable Puttin' on the Ritz dance number. But just when you think there couldn't possibly be more chaos, well, it wouldn't be a true Mel Brooks comedy if it stopped right there. The finale erupts into mayhem. There's a seductive run-in between the monster and Frankenstein's fiancé, an angry mob of villagers, a brain transfusion, and we're left with two happily married couples, Frederick and Inga, and the monster and Elizabeth. It's a wholehearted celebration of classic horror, and it's perfectly balanced with Brooks and Wilder's absurd humor and, a genuine appreciation of the film's source material as well. It's a comedy that is as timeless as the monster itself. You already know this is an Stratus family favorite, watched every Halloween. But Nick, what are your thoughts on Young Frankenstein?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, I'm trying to think, probably the greatest parody of all time.
I love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for many reasons. I mean, obviously it's hilarious. The performances are hilarious. There's so many tremendous ad-lib bits here, that elevate the piece. But as you mentioned, I think it's the respect for the genre, the respect for the source material that really make it soar and stand the test of time and act just as well as the original. It looks like it was made in 1931. It sounds like it was made in 1931. Feels like it was made in 1931, but it's injected with all of this modern comedy and modern sensibility. So it's really unique in that sense. And it is kind of how James Whale's Frankenstein shifted the perception and what people think about when they think of Frankenstein. That film changed people's mindset on that story and that creation. Young Frankenstein actually did the same thing, because there will be some times where I am in either a screening of the original Frankenstein or Bride of Frankenstein or Son of Frankenstein, and it comes up to a scene where this film did a parody of, and people start laughing when the scene starts, and why they're laughing is because they're thinking about Young Frankenstein. So
it's so true.
That is how memorable and powerful and effective this film is, and just how fucking funny it is like you never forget it.
Every beat. Yeah. As I rewatched this, I realized that this movie is possibly, or at the very least, like in my top 3 most watched movies of all time. I think I've seen this movie at least 20 times. I mean, mostly because it's part of a Halloween tradition in my family. I remember watching this movie for the first time when I was probably either 4 or 5 years old. And it scared the living shit out of me.
No, really?
I could not fall asleep for days after watching it. Actually, I had no idea this was like a full-on comedy for like the first 6-7 years of my life. Like, it actually genuinely scared me until I was way too old. And then I think I also thought this was like the original Frankenstein for a long time. Like, I had no idea it was a 70s film, because the black and white, they sold me on it so well. I didn't know it was a spoof because I didn't know like the actors when I was little, and I think I was just too preoccupied with like the horror elements to even notice it was a comedy, which is ridiculous. I was a very, very scared child. So yeah, after, finally once I let the nightmares go and started enjoying the humor a bit more, and sort of like retroactively learned about the film and like the making of it. It's such a funny experience since it was already so ingrained in my memory in such a specific way. But that it's just another element of like the beauty of cinema, the way your experience with a film can change so much over time, especially movies you watched as a kid.
So when you're watching this as a kid and you're scared, your parents aren't laughing at this?
No, they're laughing, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? This is horrifying. I was so scared of Peter Boyle, the monster in this. I was so scared of him. And like, I think it was the music and the sound design. Like, when you hear his like footsteps.
Yeah.
And then the camera like zooms in on Gene Wilder's scared face, which is obviously hilarious. But when I was like 5, I was like, oh my God, this is what's going to come around that corner. Like, is he going to kill him?
I bet you Mel Brooks would be absolutely thrilled to hear that you were scared of this as a child watching it. I'm sure that would make him so happy, because it means that his directorial work was spot on.
No, exactly. Like,
because all the jokes are the jokes are in the dialogue. The jokes are in what's being said. You know, there's not a lot of slapstickery. I mean, there is some, but it's mostly heady, smart jokes, which, a lot of them probably went over your head as a 5 and 6 year old.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. So I would hope that it makes him happy. But yeah, I finally got Jonathan to sit down and watch this with me. We did Young Frankenstein and Steins with some beer steins.
Oh, nice.
Very fitting. But he got about 30, 40 minutes in before bailing. He maybe
really
needed a few more steins to get going. Well, when we sat down, he goes, oh, it's in black and white. And I think he just didn't get it. So I was like, you know what? Let me enjoy this. You go do your thing. I won't force this on you.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite scene?
It's so hard. I was trying to like make lists to write it down, and it was just they go on forever. But in the family chat, I asked for what we thought were our most frequently used quotes.
Oh, there we go.
So Gimme 3 Young Frankenstein quotes.
There we go. Let's go. Shared by the F. Stratus family.
Yep, exactly. You got the whole gang here. Number 1, funny enough, the first line in the 1931 film, which immediately got a pop out of me while watching it. And it's when Frederick and Igor are going to dig up the body, and they're like peering over at the grave diggers, and Frederick goes, "Get down, you fool!"
Right.
And just like randomly all the time, we're like, "Get down, you fool!" That's probably the most used. Our number 2 is "Hello, handsome." When he gets locked in, he locks himself in the cell with the monster, and immediately panics and goes the praiseworthy route. He's like, "Oh my God, what a beautiful young man you are." That's one of my favorite scenes ever.
I'm going in there. Bring me that candle.
No! Yes!
Love is the only thing that can save this poor creature. And I am going to convince him that he is loved, even at the cost of my own life. No matter what you hear in there, no matter how cruelly I beg you, no matter how terribly I may scream, do not open this door or you will undo everything I've worked for. Do you understand? Do not open this door.
Yes, Doctor.
Nice working with you.
Let me out. Let me out of here. Get me the hell out of here.
What's the matter with you people? I was joking! Don't you know a joke when you hear one?
Jesus Christ, get me out of here! Open this goddamn door, I'll kick your rotten heads in! Mommy! Nine! Oh, that's funny. Hello, handsome! You're a good-looking fellow, do you know that? People laugh at you. People hate you, but why do they hate you? Because they are jealous! Look at that boyish face. Look at that sweet smile. Do you want to talk about physical strength? Do you want to talk about sheer muscle? Do you want to talk about the Olympian ideal? You are a god! And listen to me. You are not evil. You are good! Oh. This is a nice boy. This is a good boy. This is a mother's angel.
And then number 3 is ridiculous, but without fail, if you're ever eating with my family and you're really enjoying your food and you maybe say, one of us is guaranteed to say, "Oh, do you like it? You just made a yummy sound." So yeah, you just made a yummy sound every single time without fail. But those are just the ones that are most used. I don't even think those are the greatest. They're just very relevant to my childhood.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Do you have any favorite scenes or quotes?
Every scene you could do like 3 favorite quotes from each little sequence.
Truly.
But I think the sequence with Gene Hackman as the blind man is just never fails to make me cackle and uproar with laughter.
A visitor is all I ask. A temporary companion to help me pass a few short hours in my lonely life. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Oh, no. Don't speak. Don't speak. Don't say a word. Oh, my joy. My prize from heaven. Oh, you must have been the tallest one in your class. My name is Harold, and I live here all alone. What is your name? I didn't get that. Nope. Oh, forgive me. I didn't realize you were a mute. You see how heaven plans. Me, a poor blind man, and you a mute. An incredibly big mute. But your hand is frozen, my child. How does a nice bowl of soup sound to you, huh? Yes, well, I know what it means to be cold and hungry. Yes, and how much it means to have a little kindness from a stranger. Are you ready for your soup? Hold out your bowl, then. Oh, my friend. You don't know what your visit means to me. How long I've waited for the pleasure of another human being. And sometimes in our preoccupation with worldly matters, we tend to forget the simple pleasures.
That is one where it's like, okay, the slapstick is working here.
Yeah.
You know? It's
oh my god.
It's just tremendous. And the fact that it's Gene Hackman, you know, it's like
oh my god,
a very
that
serious
blew my
actor.
Yeah, I think we talked about this in our Gene Hackman tribute because I did not realize that was him until we did that tribute. But you know what? I was relieved. I was reading that it also, I mean, obviously when they saw the credits play, they realized, unlike me, but the rest of the world was also apparently shocked that that was him because he's unrecognizable in that.
He's unrecognizable. Well, and I think I don't know if they put him in now, but he wasn't credited at first.
Okay, yeah, I was like, maybe now. But
they may have put him in after the fact, but I think when kind of like Boris Karloff, they did not credit him as.
Yeah, he's so.
And Mary Shelley uncredited also when her novel came out.
Oh yeah, that's right. Look at that.
The tradition. It's the Frankenstein tradition.
Cigars.
I do have here, in addition to Gimme Three F. Stratus family favorite quotes, we've got Gimme Three pieces of trivia for Young Frankenstein.
I want to play a game.
When Mel Brooks was preparing for the film, you may be watching this movie and you'd be like, my God, they really made it look like Frankenstein from 1931. Well, Mel Brooks had discovered that Ken Strickfaden, who'd made all the elaborate electrical machinery for the lab sequences in Frankenstein and its sequels, this dude was still alive and living in the LA area. So Mel Brooks went to go visit Strickfaden and found that he had stored all of this old Frankenstein set pieces in his garage. So Brooke was like, could I use this? And he was like, yep, go for it. so much of the set pieces and set design and props from the lab in Young Frankenstein are actually from the original Frankenstein film.
Wow. Oh, so cool. I mean, when I was rewatching it, I was like, wow, they did such a great job. That looks like the real set. And there you have it.
Yeah. And Mel Brooks even gave Strickfaden a screen credit, which is something that he did not receive for the original films. Because, like in the 30s, so many people work on a movie, but they would generally just put like the keys, like the heads of department, they wouldn't put like the fourth grip and the fifth grip and all that jazz. But he got a credit here. Piece of trivia number 2. Much like Jonathan, Columbia Pictures was like, black and white, fuck off. Fuck right the fuck off. We're not doing that. There's no way. This needs to be in color. And Mel Brooks was like, no, man, I'm telling you, it needs to be in black and white. And according to Mel Brooks, the studio tried to trick him into shooting the film in color. They said, okay, we'll make it in black and white, but you got to shoot it on color stock so that way we can show it in Peru, because at the time Peru had just got color. So they're like, we got to give it to Peru in color because they're,
sneaky bastards.
Yeah. And he was like, no. If I shoot it in color, you guys are going to screw me and you're going to end up releasing the whole thing. It's got to be a black and white film. Anyways, it ended up not working with Columbia Pictures for that reason. At the same time, though, producer Michael Gruskoff, who was at Fox, he was like, I'll do it in black and white. You want to do it for over $2 million? Yeah, true. Here's $2.8 million. So
let's do it.
I'm sure Columbia Pictures was kicking themselves after that.
Oh, yeah.
Just like Jonathan should be kicking himself for not sticking it out for another.
One day,
minutes.
I swear.
I don't have faith. He doesn't like black and white. He does not like black and white. The brother doesn't like it.
Oh, we'll see.
Maybe he should go to Peru and watch the color. Last but certainly not least, we are talking about the blind man scene. Gene Hackman ad-libbed the blind man's parting line. I was going to make espresso.
Oh.
That was an
way.
That was an ad-lib line. And the scene immediately fades to black because when he said that line, the crew erupted into a laughing fit. And they tried to do the scene again, and Hackman was just like unable to repeat the line without laughing because the rest of the crew cracked. So now he cracked, and it was just like one of those things where it's like, if you've ever worked on a comedy and have tried to get the take and it's just not, because it's just too goddamn funny.
Oh,
so they ended up using that first take.
Oh, wow. That's so good. My God.
There you have it. Give me 3 pieces of trivia for Young Frankenstein.
I also want to talk about the monster makeup for this Frankenstein, Peter Boyle's Frankenstein, because I think in itself the makeup is pretty funny. Like, he has sunken in temples instead of like Boris Karloff sunken in cheeks.
Right.
But he's still got that bulbous forehead. But then he has like a sort of Benjamin Franklin cut, like bald on top, but short on the side.
Right.
It's like spooky, but goofy.
Right.
Spoofy. Wow, look at that.
Look at that. Holy shit.
Damn. But yeah, I thought that was great. And I also want to shout out Peter Boyle's performance because he terrified me as a kid, and now it's just hilarious.
Well, and the thing that they did with Peter Boyle's makeup here is what's the same technique they used with Boris Karloff is they painted him green. The makeup was green because it made, I don't know, something about shooting in black and white, and the green makeup made the lines more defined. It gave the skin and the crevices more definition or something.
Maybe it made him look even paler somehow. Yeah.
They used the same technique that they used for the originals here. An all-timer. 2 all-timers here. Frankenstein and Young Frankenstein.
Oh yeah. If you haven't seen them, they're must-watches.
Must-watches. I don't believe this is available streaming anywhere. So if you want to see it, I think you need to check out your local video store and rent it the old-fashioned way, or hit up the F. Stratus family. I'm sure they have it on some form of physical media in their collection.
Our DVD. Yep.
So check it out from them.
Yeah, we'll ship it to y'all.
All right, my friends, that's going to take us to a break. And during that break, you're going to hear from Gimme Three producer, LADFF director, and my wife, Sonia Maru, for a segment that we call Sonia's Movie Minute. So stick around for that and much more right here on the Gimme Three Podcast.
Hello, I'm Sonia, and this is my Movie Minute. It's been a week since the final episode of WTF with Marc Maron aired, and I feel like one of my friends just moved to some faraway place, and even though we promised to keep in touch and plan to visit each other, I know that our friendship as we know it is over. In this metaphorical and imaginary friendship, it kind of feels like Mark just moved to some amazing place like Maui or Ireland, and I'm stuck living in Cincinnati. For those who don't know, Marc Maron is a comedian, actor, podcaster, and cat lover who hosted the WTF podcast for over 16 years. Each episode of WTF consists of a monologue where Mark shares whatever's on his mind, followed by an in-depth talk with a guest, then a closing segment where Mark plays guitar for a minute or two and gives tribute to his deceased cats, Boomer, Monkey, LaFonda, and the cat angels everywhere. I didn't really find the podcast until October 2020, when I listened to back-to-back episodes, one with David Cross and the other with Wayne Coyne of the Flaming Lips. They were recorded a few months after the death of Mark's partner, Lynn Shelton, and I was struck by the way that these men were able to openly, thoughtfully, and generously talk about their feelings. That kind of thing is not celebrated in American culture, and as a woman, I'm never privy to hearing an intimate conversation between 2 men in real life. I immediately fell in love with Mark and the show, and I've listened to basically every episode since. If you're wondering, how is this a movie minute? I'm getting to that. A wonderful documentary about Mark just came out. It's called Are We Good? A question that he often uses to close an interview. The movie is tender and hilarious. I highly recommend it if you're a WTFer or not. If you are a WTFer, you probably already saw it. We are a reliable and devoted fan base. Thankfully, Mark hasn't moved away from LA, at least not yet. So although I don't get to hear the one-sided check-ins from my friend twice a week anymore, I can go see him do comedy at the Comedy Store, Dynasty, or Largo on a regular basis. We even frequent the same repertory movie theaters. One time I sat right in front of him during a screening of The In-Laws at the New Beverly. I loved hearing him laugh at Alan Arkin. Or maybe one day we'll work together and become real friends.
All right, it's the Gimme Three Podcast, everybody, and we are celebrating the release of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which hit theaters this past weekend. Check it out on the big screen this week if you can. So to commemorate it, we've been discussing great Frankenstein films, and we started with the 1931 classic that changed the film industry and the horror genre as we know it, Frankenstein. And then we revisited the 1974 comedy classic, Young Frankenstein by Mel Brooks. And now, oh boy, do I got a lot of things to say about this film.
Final film of the day. We're closing out with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, really more aptly titled Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein from 1994, with a screenplay by the great Frank Darabont. A horrifying tale sure to curdle the blood and quicken the beatings of the heart. Or not. Let's see how it goes. This is the first film of our three today that is regarded as one of the more accurate adaptations of Mary Shelley's novel. The film stars Kenneth Branagh as the titular Victor Frankenstein, Helena Bonham Carter as his lover and adopted sister, Elizabeth Lavenza, and Robert De Niro as Frankenstein's monster. Faithful to the book, the story opens in 1794 with a group of expeditioners shipwrecked on a massive Arctic iceberg. From the shrouded ice-cold mist emerges an aged and exhausted Victor Frankenstein, followed by horrifying monster groans echoing behind him. The captain of the ship takes him inside, where Frankenstein then tells him of his tragic past and of the dangerous phantom bellowing in the freezing white abyss of the Arctic, forever haunting that icy wasteland. We start with the horrific death of Frankenstein's mother during childbirth, an event that haunts him and drives his obsession with conquering death. Years later, after pledging his heart to Elizabeth, Victor leaves for university to study science, where he encounters Dr. Waldman, a brilliant scientist who is forced to abandon dangerous experiments on reanimation. When Waldman is tragically murdered, Victor steals his notes and becomes consumed with finishing the work himself, confusing his own obsession with honoring Waldman's legacy. As a plague sweeps through the town, Victor isolates himself in his private lab, assembling the body that will one day ruin him. That night, his experiment succeeds, but the excitement is quickly overshadowed by the true horror of his creation. The monster, possessing terrifying strength, escapes into the wilderness, where he learns about the world while grappling with loneliness, rejection, and his own strange existence. Victor, obviously, obsesses over the consequences of his ambition, and a tense, tragic confrontation between creator and creation becomes inevitable. When the monster finally tracks down his creator, he demands companionship in the form of a bride created just like him. When Victor refuses, tragedy unfolds as grief and revenge drive both of them towards their ultimate demise. While it received some less than enthusiastic reviews, the film received an Oscar nomination for Best Makeup and a BAFTA nomination for Production Design, which is 100% deserved in my opinion. It may not be the most cohesive or consistent telling of this story, but it certainly is a Gothic spectacle. Nick, what are your thoughts on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, 1994?
I ultimately really enjoyed it.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
It was like a pendulum swinging back and forth. One scene, I'd be like, wow, this is absolute trash. The next scene, I'd be like, holy God, this is really tremendous. The next scene, oh, that's shit. The scene after that, whoa, look at that. That's incredible. It is a fascinating film.
I've never heard a better description. That is exactly how I felt.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely closer to the novel. And I think me reading the novel while watching this helped my enjoyment, although there are still some very, very major departures from the novel that I'm like, all right, if you're going to put Mary Shelley's Frankenstein on it, then maybe stick to the novel.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. This was made in the 90s when they were redoing all of the classics, you know. I think, you know, the Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola. They had recently done the Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde modern adaptation, which was really cool also. So this was kind of in that era of like, let's redo the horror classics of the Universal monsters and stuff, but we're going to do them that are closer to the actual novels that we are adapting them from. So that's where this that's the meaning for this existence. Kenneth Branagh brought on to be the filmmaker. Kenneth Branagh, at the time that he made this, it was sandwiched in between a bunch of Shakespearean adaptations, you know, which is ultimately what he's most famous for. Many a cinephile will and Shakespeare fan consider his Hamlet to be the best film adaptation of a Shakespeare play ever. So there are a lot of elements of this movie that are very Shakespearean, like specifically the performances and the blocking and the drama, you know.
Oh, yes.
But there are scenes, and for me, it's mostly scenes where like two people are talking and it's living in these close-ups where I think the film really strikes a nerve and the actors do really excellent work. The scene with the creature and the blind man, I think is fantastic. The scene with the creature talking to Frankenstein in the ice cave, I really liked that scene. Anytime Helena Bonham Carter's on screen, like the movie soars. The score is great. So there is a lot of genuine great filmmaking in this. And then there's some other just choices that are just like, okay.
Yeah.
But there is a moment towards the end of the film, which I'll get into later and specifically, where I was won over and I ultimately understood this movie in a much more big picture way, but I'll talk about that later.
Ooh,
but what were your thoughts, Bella?
Yeah, I can't really decide, like definitively say how I feel about this movie because that's why your pendulum analogy made a lot of sense to me because it was just like it felt a bit all over the place, which prevents me from being like, oh, this is so great.
Yeah.
But there were so many moments that I really loved, and I loved the visual aesthetic of this film, like the production design and the costumes and the makeup. I mean, they really went for it. It's so beautiful. I was obsessed with, and I love that they kept coming back to that enormous ballroom and the Frankenstein estate that's like the wall and the giant staircase are all this like pale blue tiled, no like railing or anything, and then they have all these costumes just popping beautifully against it. There's this great scene with him carrying Elizabeth up the stairs, and she's got this like bright blood red dress on, and the sash is flowing behind. And there's just so many little moments like that I'm like, oh, love that. Unforgettable, gorgeous. My biggest problem with this movie was I was not sold on Robert De Niro's performance as the monster. I felt like he was held at gunpoint to do this movie. Like, there were times, like you said, with the blind man, like that scene was really moving. And I actually did that was the most invested I was in the film, was that kind of like sequence and like period of the monster's journey. But then after that, I was just like, this man does not want to be here. I swear. Like he's just, I don't know. It didn't work for me. Maybe I was like, maybe he really was into it, or maybe, you know, under all that makeup, he was miserable, because it is a full on like prosthetic suit.
It's a full on transformation. Like, could you tell if you didn't know it was Robert De Niro? Would you be able to tell it was him?
No, never. I mean, that's why I loved the makeup so much. Yeah. I mean, it really is horrifying, and it's such a fantastic like design and version of this character that really strays from, in my opinion, from the other two.
Yeah.
And like other ones that we've seen. He's much more monster than like human. Yeah.
His performance is kind of like the movie in that it just swings back and forth. Like there's that scene with the blind man, and then the family of the blind man comes home and beats the shit out of him, you know, with like a pipe or something. And the next scene is him crying, you know, in the woods. And it was like, I don't know. I thought like those two scenes combined were like, I was like, God damn, I'm really into this.
Yes.
The scene after that, the monster, the family has vacated the home because they're like, what the fuck? We got to get out of here. Well, I don't know what the fuck that thing was, but we are leaving. He comes back to the house because he's like, oh, you know, and prior to this, he was trying to do nice things for the family, bring them food while still hiding in the shadows. He was learning how to speak from them. He was learning about like life and love by watching them from the outside. Something
like the little house elf.
Yeah, something that does happen in the book. But he comes back to the home. They vacated, and he's like so upset. And he burns the house down.
Yeah.
And there's this shot that they used in the trailers too. So it's like famously a shot that is like quite laughable in the film, which is he slowly turns to the camera and says, "I'll get my revenge, Frankenstein." And you're just like that. This is a different movie than what we just saw like 5 minutes ago. Like, this is a totally different film.
Yes. I think that's where I got so frustrated, because I was finally like, okay, here we go. I'm heartbroken for this monster. His sobbing alone in the woods is breaking my heart. Mm-hmm. And then cutting straight to that, I was like, come on, man. Like, now I'm back out of it. I can't with this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an experience. It was co-written by Frank Darabont, as you mentioned, who has written so many classics, Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile. He wrote The Majestic that I love, and he's the creator of Walking Dead, for those who don't know. This is what he thought of the movie. It was the best script I ever wrote and the worst movie I ever saw.
Brutal.
I
would love to read the script.
This movie took swing. You know what it reminded me of when I was watching this? Mm-hmm. It reminded me of that movie Caveman's Valentine by Cassie Lemons, which we discussed in one of our very early episodes. Yeah. Because it was just so wild. And I was like, I've read the book. I've seen so many adaptations of this thing. I don't know where the fuck this is going. I don't know what's going to happen next.
Yes, God, it totally does have that feeling.
Wild, which I liked that, and ultimately I liked this, and I'm going to explain why I liked this in this next segment called "Gimme Three Dubs."
Woo!
Welcome to the Weed Zone. Population 420.
For our listeners who have not heard this segment before, Bella, what's a dub?
A dub is watch with weed.
Yeah, so dub is a W. So we're giving 3 dubs.
Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
It's all good. You're happy you remembered it this time.
I'm like, here we go. I got it.
Give me 3 dubs. Give me 3 W's. Watch with weed. So in this segment, I read some of the nonsensical scribblings that I jotted down in my notebook while being higher than giraffe pussy. So here we go. Give me 3 dubs. Number 1. And I was on one. Let me tell you. A joint and a half in, and I think I was drinking like vodka mixed with an energy drink also. So
no wonder you loved this movie.
I was, yeah, exactly. I was on the same pendulum that this movie was.
Oh, that explains it. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. Give me 3 dubs. Number 1. The creation scene is unhinged.
Oh, yes.
Shirtless Frankenstein running around his lab like Jim Morrison high on LSD and lewds. Electric eels and all kinds of placenta.
Mm.
And then I've got another note after that, which is, holy shit, the scene where they're slipping around in the afterbirth goes on forever.
I'm so glad you brought it up. I've never seen anything like it. I had to pull up a clip of it to show Jonathan because he didn't watch this one with me, and he was like, "You're joking. You're lying. This isn't real."
So he makes the monster, and one of the keys in the in the other versions, it's like, oh, electricity, lightning is the spark. This one, he's like, no, I need that fucking afterbirth.
Yeah.
Give me that placenta. Give me all that shit. So he's got this dude bathing in this stuff with electric eels getting at him. So when he finally creates the monster, he's trying to stand him up, but they keep slipping in.
Like the amniotic fluid.
Yeah, the amniotic fluid, all this afterbirth stuff, and it's like they keep slipping and falling and slipping and falling and slipping and falling, and it just goes on and on for minutes, seemingly.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just like, all right, cut to the next shot, please.
And they're like rolling and slipping all over each other. It's like, and they're like, he's like naked.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Give me 3 dubs. Number 2. Okay, here's where it happened. This is major spoilers in these Give me 3 dubs here. But this is the scene where I was won over. Victor Frankenstein and Elizabeth, they have married and they're on their, honeymoon, and they're about to get the freak on. But then he hears the flute playing, and the monster knows how to play the flute. So he's like, fuck, he's here. So he goes out to try and find him, and he's like, lock the door. Well, Victor Frankenstein, he may know science, but he don't know how to lock a motherfucking window because he failed to realize that the window was open. So anyways, the monster gets in the room with Elizabeth, and he's on top of her. And just as Frankenstein enters the room, this motherfucker just drives his fist into her chest and rips her heart out. And he turns to him and says, I keep my promises. And I said, okay, here's what I wrote. That's fucking metal. That is fucking metal. And this sparked something. And I say, you know what? When I think about it, this whole film is like one long 80s metal music video. And if you look at the film as if it were a 2-hour long 80s metal music video, the tone of the film makes way more sense. So it was in that moment when he rips the heart out and says, I keep my promises. I said, I am fucking in. This is a masterpiece. And what happens after that scene, by the way,
I was gonna say.
where it goes from there, just underscored my feelings because I was like, fuck yes. Fuck yes.
Yeah, it doesn't stop there. He like flips her off the bed, she smashes her head into this glass, her hair catches on fire, just like, oh my God. Okay.
Sure. That's just getting started.
Yeah.
But anyways. Okay, give me 3 dubs. Number 3. Again, major spoilers. Victor. One thing that they did do right in this movie that the 1931 version did not do right was they kill Frankenstein. Victor's dead. And the monster is weeping. And the captain of this North Pole bound ship goes over and says, like, why do you weep? And the monster says, he was my father. And it was at that moment where I said, you know what? I understand your qualms with the De Niro in this, but I do think that what might have helped, I don't think De Niro should have been credited for this film. I think they should have gone the Boris Karloff route.
Yeah, maybe.
The monster ? As I read that, I think it's a terrible idea. See, this is why it's.
Well, it would have.
This is why I'm high.
No, but I think you were onto something, because I think, like, they obviously. I mean, I feel like they obviously cast him because he was really big,
right,
at the time.
Yeah,
and they knew they would get a lot of people to see it, but then that kind of is what fucked it up for me a bit.
Yeah, you're just thinking, you're just like,
okay,
there's Robert De Niro.
Yeah, Robert De Niro as Frankenstein's monster. That sounds awesome. I want to see what that is. And then it's just like, feels kind of half-assed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are times where it's great, like we said, but then it should be consistent. That is my level of expectation for that.
Right. Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't. You're not alone in your feelings. I am alone in my love for this wildly unhinged film.
I love the idea of the 80s metal music video, though. I think that speaks to me. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The third act, I almost don't want to talk about what happens after that heart-ripping out scene, because I think it is something that absolutely should be experienced, because it's not in the book. Wild departure from the novel. What happens after that? But B, it is so dark, twisted, and jaw-dropping what takes place after that it must be seen to be believed.
Oh
God.
It's one of my favorite parts of it, for sure.
It is the scene where it's like, oh, okay, this is a horror movie. Like,
yeah. There's a lot to be loved and enjoyed in this film, but I can't say that it's perfect or.
No, it's not. It's the last thing it is.
It's far from perfect, but I mean, or even like, I don't know if this was a fantastic film for me, but it's one that I might still recommend just because it's such an experience.
I think,
if you love the story, or like, if this sounds like your vibe, you'll probably really enjoy it.
I agree. I think it is. I think it's a flawed film, but if you're a Frankenstein fan, or if you're a fan of Helena Bonham Carter, I think she is tremendous in this movie. It's worth watching, really, just for her alone. The other one super weird choice that was in this, which I just don't the white people and the incest thing will just never cease to baffle me.
Yeah, I know, because I was like, there's no world in which I can fully be on board with this love affair.
So,
and they really commit to it. Like, they don't shy away from the fact that they grew up together.
In the book, it is Elizabeth is the adopted sister.
Okay, yeah.
In the book, but in the book, they're like, they call each other cousin. Like, they do not call each other brother and sister at all. And the mom even says, like, my dream would be for you to end up together. Like, that was like,
wow, that is not conveyed in this film.
And in this film, for no reason, because it's not in the book. Like, you have an out. They're just like constantly like, this is my brother and sister, and we're gonna fuck. Like, it's just like, why?
So
Of all the things to change, why? Like, they call each other cousin in the book, and in this movie, you're calling each other brother, sister, just to make it. I don't know. It was wildly unnecessary.
So
wildly unnecessary.
I agree. That was so. I think they literally say like brother, sister, lover.
Yeah,
it's like that's not hot, guys. That's really gross.
No.
I don't know. I don't know what Kenneth was thinking with that one, but
and I think that might be also why I was able to like get into their love story more, because I was reading the book and I was like, all right, that's just a weird choice he made, and I don't know why he did that, but
throw it out the window.
Because like I know that's not. But if you're watching this and taking the film at face value, I could see how that would totally throw you off and be like, ick.
Yeah, it is a bit icky.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you can throw it out the window, it's a great love story, and they sell the chemistry.
Yeah. What a picture. No,
I'm so glad we talked about the absurd creation scene, because that was and the slip and slide. That's just, I think that'll be what I never forget in this film.
Yeah. No.
It's a neat departure, from what we've seen of.
And I'm interested to see Del Toro's adaptation, because I think like this film, I think Del Toro is his story is going to be closer to the novel than to the Universal Studios adaptation.
Right. I'm so excited to see it. I gotta go see it on the big screen for sure.
Mm-hmm. See it on the big screen. It should be out in theaters now. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's available to stream on demand, or you could check it out at your local video stores. But see Frankenstein by Guillermo del Toro on the big screen this week while you can. If you like our show, if you like Frankenstein, you want to let us know what you think of these films or what you think of Del Toro's film, please let us know. Message us on Instagram. Type in Gimme Three Podcast, GIMME, spell out 3 podcast on Instagram. You can follow us. You can slide into our DMs. Let us know what you think of these films and the new Del Toro adaptation. You can also send us a text message by scrolling down to our episode description and clicking the link that says send us a text message. It'll go directly into our inbox, and we may even read it on air here. If you like the show and you want to support the show, there is Give me 3 ways you can do that. Number 1, we do have a Patreon for a mere $5 a month. We have some bonus content on there, and it really helps keep our microphones on. For $5 a month, you can support our Patreon. You can click the link in our episode description once again. Number 2, you can download our episodes, set our podcast to automatically download. It really helps us out, and it helps you out if you're ever away from the Wi-Fi and want to listen to the show. And lastly, but not leastly, let your friends know. If your friends are into movies, if your friends are into Frankenstein, share this episode with them. Share our podcast with your film friends. Bella, you want to let the lovely folks know where they can find you on the social media?
Yes, you guys can. Yes, you guys can find me on Instagram at Portrait of a Cinephile or on Letterboxd at BF Stratus.
And you can find me on Letterboxd on Instagram or on Blue Sky at Nicholas Ibarra. Ibarra is spelled with a Y. We want to thank you all for joining us on the Gimme Three Podcast, and we will see you at the movies.